it was like we had sort of 3 different personas reading those poems. Fantastic. I was very moved by what you said at the beginning, because one of my daughters, I say gay, I don't know whether that's the right thing to say anymore, or queer, but it's, my daughter says queer and I always go, wow. But what a blessing that my daughter grew up at a time when in Canada here she is safe, and she's gone to the Vancouver Pride Parade every year for years and years. So thank you for that. And I love this, white people are always saying land is magic. And the one that really struck me is artists. We are hungry and infinity. Artists, we are hungry and infinity. Thank you for reminding us of that. Thank you. Wow, isn't this just unbelievable? Yeah. Really. I've been to a lot of these, and I'll tell you, this one kicks ass. Okay, and we've got 3 remarkable poets, so I hope you're all hanging in. In 2011, Toronto writer and blogger Lil Bloom posted the question, what is the most wrist-slittingest poem ever? That's a good one, eh? Now that's a good one for your workshop. This was her answer. The most wrist-slittingest, where's the nearest bridge poem ever written has to be Susan Musgrave's poem, Here It Comes, Grief's Beautiful Blowjob. In brackets, the title taken from William Matthews. And I'm still quoting Lil. The poem begins, last night, for the first time, you told me you love me less. And goes from there. The whole poem can be found in the Embalmer's Art, Exile Editions, 1993. Not all Musgrave's poems are this wrist-slitting, but in her published writing career that spans more than 45 years, this Canadian writer, who now lives in Haida Gwaii, offshore the northernmost seacoast of Canada, she has been an unflinching recorder of her life and the beautiful and broken world we live in. Winner of many writing awards, she has written 30 books, including 19 poetry collections. Last year, her award-winning poem, The Goodness of This World, was included in the Best Canadian Poetry 2014 anthology. How to fathom it. A mother writing so almost matter-of-factly about her daughter's life as an addict and a street worker. The poem begins like this. You used to joke you liked to sniff the glue that held our family together. But this much is true. Everything in our house has been broken and mended over and over again. I felt at home in all the broken places. Yes, Susan Musgrave is a poet who feels at home in all the broken places, and from there writes poems of astonishing wholeness. And I'm really happy to say that Susan told me her daughter Sophie has been clean for 1.5 years. And I work with addicts, and I tell you, that is one fucking accomplishment. And she's moved to Cascadia, smart girl. And for all the poets in the audience, a favorite Musgrave quote of mine from a 2014 interview goes like this. Poems always seem to know more than I do, and are wiser than I am, as far as I can see. I'm glad there's some recognition there. That's also what's magical about writing. Where do these things come from? Who knows, but I'm glad they come to Susan. And on her website, Susan recounts a story when she was in a mental institution of some kind for a little time. And a poet came to visit her, and he said, Susan, you're not mad, you're a poet. Please welcome the very same poet, Susan Musgrave.
Good MC, and I'm not bullshitting you. Yeah, you're good. You're really good. For a while, I had this amazing Buddhist psychiatrist, and who just said, well, anyway, he was great. And he did have a book on his table, and every week I would look at it. It's called Understanding the Sky. And I thought, this is such a great book for a psychiatrist to be reading, but it turned out it was a hang glide. He wanted to be an eagle in his next life, so he'd taken up hang gliding. So it was not the book I thought it was. So I wrote the poem instead, Understanding the Sky. This is written on Haida Gwaii, where I live, which most of you probably know, but in case you don't. I stare at that map. When I lived in London, I used to go on the subway and weep the whole time looking at a map of Haida Gwaii, and I felt like this in the London subway. Oh. The ravens arrived before daybreak, awakening me. I moved from my moonlit bed to the window, my heart beat the sound a hammer makes striking emptiness before and after. How much easier to embrace pain than the common miracles of freezing rain, the fires of smudgy juniper smoldering across the water, or the mist that stills its whispery music in my mind. What sound does the wind make if you don't name it? Oh, my ancestors, you are like clouds with nothing to keep you from flying, like the running away river with no one to depend on. I go outside, understanding the sky is just as present beneath my feet as it is up above, and so try to tread lightly on the crust of this earth, knowing it is thin. The ravens slope towards the stars, the black night in their beaks, and I think, be light, 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 as I make my way in darkness to the river's edge. And then, from overhead, a branch drooping with snow, the owl takes flight, swoops and glides down beside me. Even though the requiem birds had failed to roust him from his place of refuge, it is my quiet uneasiness that causes him to strike out over the river to the brighter side. What brings tears I do not know, nor grasp the thief-like tendency of tears to disappear, but I feel graced to have felt the snow owl's breath upon my face, as if I no longer need to go on breathing, I am being breathed. Be light, I whisper to the wind as I climb the bank back to my dreaming bed, nodding at the green bamboo stalk I used to stake an unruly chrysanthemum clinging to life in the frozen garden. The going doesn't get any easier, but by any name I'd missed the wind too much to be parted from this life for even one hard winter. Well, the sad thing about snow owls on Haida Gwaii is that they've blown off course, and most of them die because it's so wet there that their wings get heavy and they can't fly. And apparently there aren't enough mice for them to eat, but it's hard to believe because there really are a lot of mice. So, but they don't find them. And so when we see one, which is very rare, it's tinged with grief as well, as many things are. Yes, my daughter, I wrote a series of poems. My daughter was on the street for about 10 years, and in the end I realized all I could do is write poems because I tried everything else. And for a long time I didn't read these because I cried the whole time I was writing them, which I'm not sure. It's not great to cry at your own poetry when you're reading your own poems at a reading. So I would pinch myself when I'm at the dentist. I claw myself, so I come home with these marks all over my body. So I don't have to do that anymore, which is a good sign. This microphone is entreating. It's like a penis that keeps going down. And I didn't want to do what I was reading. I was hoping it wouldn't do it, but I think it is. It's slowly I was watching it when Sam was reading it, kept going down. You know, anyway. Is it still doing it, or is it just my imagination? All you're going to do is watch the microphone, I know. Okay. This is from a series called The Goodness of This World, and this is personal effects. And it's got a local reference. Now, do you say Nanuspe or Nanuspe or Nanuspe? Nanus. Yeah, I know. Oh, George Barring just corrected my pronunciation of a poetry reading last week in front of a huge audience. He said it's not Houseman, it's Hoosman. Well, the next day he had a heart attack. Just saying. few people who crossed us, and there's nothing I would wish on anyone, but that's kind of, I don't like being corrected in public, so I want to get Nanu's right. Okay, here we go. I don't have to pinch myself anymore, so great. We were driving. I had vowed to take you away from the life you were leaving for good. The heroin you'd stashed for the journey ran out around Nanu's Bay, where we pulled in at a rest area so you could do your last fix in the privacy of the blue Portaloo. I got out of the car to wait and found in the dead grass at the edge of the parking lot a suitcase full of someone else's life. Recipes, spices whose expiry date had been and gone, a bottle of vanilla extract, the kind I let you sniff when we used to bake cookies together. Lately you had taken to drinking the supersized containers I bought at Costco. You said it helped you sleep when the drugs ran out. I'd begun hiding it, and the knives I found in your bedroom under your pillow. I removed them without saying anything, so terrified had I become of your fate. In that parking lot I unpacked cutlery, saucepans with lids missing, a single baby shoe. I worked loose the knot on a bundle of unopened letters with footprints over them, then stopped as you came flailing back to me because someone had dumped a lifetime of family photographs in the outhouse toilet pit. And up until that point, it was the saddest thing I knew. We got in the car and drove, trying to imagine, had she been kicked out of her house or had she run away? Maybe she chucked everything before checking into the rehab facility on the hill, hoping to start anew. I didn't want to go on. I wanted to turn back, open the letters, find a clue, a name and address to return the things to. But you said it was useless, and I could feel the panic rising in you. And I had little strength left at that time, and I was driving, and you need both hands to hold someone who is suffering and does not want to be held. So, Lorna Crozier and I have been writing a series of poems together based on vague abstractions. I go in fear of abstractions, although I try to see that they have a place in the world. And in my granddaughter's kindergarten classroom, I found a poster at Christmas marked Virtues, the Gifts of Character, and was horrified to find 52 character descriptions that were all abstractions of this list. And I thought, how are they ever going to feel anything if they just read this list of vague words? So I talked to Lorna about it, and so we began assigning each other as abstractions. So we had to write poems. We could do anything we wanted with the words, which was amazing. She gave me joyousness as the first one, and which is my least favorite word because I had a lodger once called Joy, and I've never been able to use the word or even feel it ever since. So it was a real test to be able to have to write this poem. So this is joyousness. I know this is going down still. Okay, I'm good. Just, I feel like I should be, anyway. Okay, I took Joy home with me because I needed her, a companion, a lodger to help pay the rent. But then Joy, who had been crushed in her heart, lay in the spare room for whole days, somewhere between death and dying, possessed by a Siamese cat who bled through the spare comforter, doing his best to die also. It was as if for Joy we were both condemned to live. I tried, I really did, to make a place for her in my frettish heart and give her time to grow and cherish her, but grew to loathe her instead as she took over my house, room by room, until I had nothing left. After Joy changed the locks, I became unable to take joy in anything. The Lord, old dogs, good food. I especially lost interest in the joy of cooking. It is, I've read, a comely fashion to be glad, and in that spirit I bought Take Joy, a wise book I've been told to read because it would help me make peace with joy, but I couldn't get past the title. Joy was everywhere, in sex, in my ultra-concentrated dishwashing detergent. Christmas was the worst. I was unable to sing joy to the world without seeing unpaid electricity bills, the blocked toilet she expected me to fix. And oh, what joy those weekly trips to the food bank I got to experience vicariously, the rich dishing out leftover Halloween treats for the wretched poor to eat. Suck it up, I wanted to say. We share small pieces of our hearts with others, and the more we share, the less we have for ourselves. When the cat finally died, Joy enshrined him in a satin-lined box custom-made by a transvestite carpenter she refused to reimburse. She buried her pet in the vegetable patch, uprooting my heritage tomatoes in a sacred pre-dawn ceremony. Months later, after I fled the house to get shut of her, and my landlord sold the property and evicted her, I heard she dug up the cat's body and relocated to Burlington, Ontario. That was the night I needed poetry to console me. So desperate had I become, recollecting Joy, and found a falling apart copy of Moods of Love by Canada's most personal poet, Terry Rowe. The book was inscribed to me. How can I forget the most beautiful experience of my lost life? Always, Mark. I turned next to the dedication page where the personal poet himself had written, as always, for Joy. But there was no way now I could remember who Mark was, or how this book, dedicated to Joy, had ended up in my possession. So that was joyous. That was the hard one. This one, truthfulness. It's short. These are the two last ones. The hitchhiker I picked up late evening a mile from Masset claimed he'd been enlightened by buttercups, so many that to stare at them too hard would have induced blindness. All day he had meditated by the ditch, and the moment I pulled over in my Jeep Cherokee, he knew he'd been blessed. He'd been waiting his whole life for someone like me. It crossed my mind to tell him those were dandelions, not buttercups. But how pleased I was with myself, I refrained. And humility. I have something to confess. I was asked to contribute a poem to Gordon Lightfoot's 65th birthday anthology, and I'd written this poem with Leonard Cohen's name in it, and I changed it to Gordon Lightfoot. It's there. I think it's actually more of a Leonard Cohen poem, but I've never met Gordon Lightfoot, so I don't. But I just didn't have the time to write another poem. So, right. Two versions. This is the official version. Don't tell Gordon. If I had to be the underwear of somebody famous, I would choose Leonard Cohen to wear me. I would want to be blue because blue's a color you can feel. And how do you think I would feel being intimately associated with Leonard and his private, oh, this could so easily become a confessional poem, which was never meant to be. I would want to be smalt, redder and deeper than azurite blue, more like the dusky purple I tried painting the bedroom one smoldering evening when the sun was going down and my lover had left town and Leonard was on the front lawn wearing nothing but me. Thank you.